It is December the 8th, and it's a BRAP rant. Haven't done one of these in a long time. Very impromptu rant, by the way. Want to give a big shout to Nels Coney. Says, "Where's Roach?" Great to see you, Nels Coney. Haven't seen you in quite some time. Nels Coney is like an old school listener of BRAP. I think Nels might have been like one of the first listeners I think we had maybe 8 years ago. So great to see you in the live chat, Nels Coney. Also want to give a big shout out to everyone who's listening to us live right now. I will be doing this and then joining Crossfire, which goes live at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And do me a quick favor, retweet the link, let everyone know we're live. I dropped the link here in the live chat. So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're talking about the 2023 Game Awards that that aired last night. We're going to discuss whether it was a hit or miss. There's some I've seen some, I don't want to say controversy, but I've seen some dialogue around the award show where people are upset or angry or dissatisfied. But the tweet that Keeley put out today with which was a poll suggested that maybe more people enjoyed it than not. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of the different games that were shown at the award show, what worked, what didn't work for last night's award show. And then we're going to talk about Blade, which was revealed last night, because there's some questions about that particular game that's being developed by Microsoft or Xbox first party studio Arcane Studios. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Please, if you haven't done so already, smash the like button. What's going on, Otacon Oscilla? Thank you for stopping by. And with me, I have Hamp, a.k.a. Game Logic, a.k.a. The Oracle, a.k.a. The Architect, a.k.a. the World Champ. What's going on, Logic?
Ergo, we have become exceedingly efficient at it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny, man. Look, Logic, I don't know if people are aware of many of the predictions that you make. I don't know if you put that out there on X on social media, but there's a reason why we call you the Architect and the Oracle, because you tend to knock it out of the park with your predictions.
Yeah, sometimes my guesses are right.
Yeah. So,
or sometimes the truth is revealed.
You say the truth is revealed?
Sometimes, yeah. Because sometimes they're not predictions. Sometimes they're me. When my wife and I used to watch Monk all the time, I used to always pause it partway through, and I'm like, "You want me to solve the case?"
Now, does your wife like that you did that, or is she like, "No, don't do that. Don't spoil it for me"?
There was probably a mix. Some nights she would allow me to. She would indulge me and allow me to entertain myself.
That's funny, but well, one of the cases that or conspiracies, I should say, that's out there right now is the whole Jim Ryan got fired. We saw that Jim Ryan was thrown a going away party at PlayStation headquarters. They even had Jim Ryan cookies with his face on it, which was kind of interesting. So that happened, but Logic, and a couple weeks ago, Jim Ryan was signing deals, new partnerships with other, with outside vendors. Signed a deal with Shift Up, who's the developer behind Stellar Blade, or as some people refer to it, Stellar Yams. And he also signed a partnership and agreement with Korean developer publisher. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank here. They're behind Guild Wars too. Oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting the name of the publisher, the Korean publisher. But anyhow, so he's still actually making deals, signing deals. That's not behavior or things that are allowed when someone's actually fired. And then we have this going away party. It was tweeted out. We saw pictures of Jim Ryan in a suit. He wasn't in his white T-shirt. I was surprised, but he was in a suit, and people were there to congratulate him and to wish him well. And again, that isn't behavior of someone being fired. Now, I will say this. One thing that's happened this week, Logic, is the conspiracy theorists, the Xbox tax conspiracy, all that stuff has been massively debunked this week. And I'll get to the Xbox tax here in just a moment. But But the Jim Ryan thing further debunked, although I did have someone debate with me Japanese culture and how Japanese companies lay people off. So there's that. Any thoughts on Jim Ryan's send away logic?
Nope.
All right.
Those guys are out there rambling about things that are not news, so I'm not giving any breath to that.
Fair enough. All right. Let's get to the Game Awards show. Did you watch the Game Awards show, Logic?
Yeah, I think I watched it like 1.5 times, I think about.
Okay. So you've watched, okay, more than, okay. So you're almost on your second viewing of the show.
Well,
what were some, yeah, go ahead.
That's because the show probably watched me the first 75%. so I had to go back and.
Did you fall asleep?
I did, because I wasn't, I don't think the show was that great.
Oh, so you don't think this was that great of a show then?
No, I graded it a D.
Really, man? I gave it actually a B, but so all right, let's get into why you gave it a D, and then I'll give you my reasons why I gave it a B.
Yeah, because it wasn't really about a celebration of video games, and I mean so much so to the point where it skewed so far out of, in my mind, the creative intent behind it, that it became problematic. And I'm sure that some people will say, well, it's always been a commercial vehicle. And I'm like, yes, it has always been a commercial vehicle, but not nearly so much as it was this year or in the past. It has been a commercial vehicle that, in my mind, while there have been big announces and reveals, there was an equal amount of weight, or maybe even a slightly greater amount of weight, to it being a commercial vehicle for the games that were out. Right? It was about bringing relevance and highlighting those games. I mean, one of the things that we always do, and we talk about this on E2KG because we're about to do our Gaming Superlative Awards this weekend. I always, what typically happens is the nomination things get announced in November, and then all of us scramble to put together a list and consider, oh, wait, I didn't play this, or, oh, wait, I bought this, but I didn't actually spend time with it. And then we scramble right in the month of November, buying, extra games, above our monthly norm, and trying to crunch and get in a bunch of game time to at least, get some toe dips into some games that maybe we didn't pay attention to, or we got caught up in, a Call of Duty season or a Halo Infinite season or something and missed something. So, in my mind, it's always been, going back to the earlier inceptions of the show. Yes, it's been a commercial vehicle, but the point was to get people to go out and buy more video games right in the holiday months and as part of their, Christmas, and catch people before the last vestiges of their, ducats were spent on Christmas gifts, and get them to pick up, a few more of these games, to add to the commerciality of the industry in the holiday season. And that is why, and I would stake my evidentiary proof on that is why there is this big super issue about that show will never slide around to taking place after the first of the year. Because after the first of the year, those games are no longer relevant. Mm-hmm. Right? Everybody starts spooling up for the new thing. If the main point of that show, when it originally took the baton and the handoff from the old Spike VGAs, was to do big announcements and sell new video games, then nobody would have, they wouldn't have a problem slipping it around to doing it in January. To me, in my mind, it's about getting a last big commercial push to sell the video games that have been put out in that year while the iron is hot and while they can strike and get the extra sales in November and December before the end of the holiday season. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do that, right? Because they didn't emphasize and focus on those games.
Yeah. Okay. So you gave it a D because it didn't have it really wasn't a like celebration per se of the actual industry as much as it was kind of more of a, hey, this is, I hate to use the analogy of it being more like a
it was like a winter E3.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say winter, but what's the, like a home shopping network?
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
They're figurines.
Look,
they're statues.
Look, I understand the perspective of the game the Game Awards feeling more like a commercial as opposed to a celebration of developers in the gaming industry, and part of that is where that really kind of stood out to me was when Keeley was kind of going through rapid fire, announcing winners for certain categories. And I thought it was kind of odd. I felt, and you and I talked about this earlier today, I felt like if I think about previous years, I didn't think there was as much as that. There was, but I feel like this year there was more of that rapid fire. And game of the, best game with grass physics goes to so and so, and then after that it was another list of another category that he would rattle off the winner for. It was very like rapid fire. And to me, I'm like, I know the AMAs do it. Well, they'll talk about, so and so won best, artist of blah 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 of, electronica, some kind of maybe not as popular genre per se as some of the other genres in music, but I felt like this was like he was like really rushing through. I thought some of the announcements, some of the winners, and he was really highlighting some of the the categories like best RPG, or maybe did he even announce best RPG? Did they even come up for that? Maybe not.
No, I thought that was one that he rattled off.
I think that's one he rattled off. I was surprised by that, but like best the Sam Lake one, which I not Sam Lake, Alan Wake 2, that award I forget what category they won for, but he allowed them to come on stage. So there wasn't a lot of developers coming on stage. And my point is, not a lot of developers coming on stage and actually giving accepted speeches, which I thought was kind of odd. And then even with the accepting speeches, because we could thank, what's his face? The voice actor of Kratos. I forget his name now.
Yeah, Christopher Judge.
Christopher Judge, yeah, for taking 8 minutes last year to say thank you for his award. In that regard, I can see how people didn't feel like it was an award show, because you didn't really see people really accepting awards per se. It was like, we're going to rapid fire winners, then we're going to have one category come up, accept their award. They're going to give a quick speech, but it's only a 30-minute thing or 30-second speech before the music starts playing, and then we're going to kind of scurry them off stage. And to Keeley's credit, he did address that today on Twitter, saying, "Hey, you know what? Moving forward, we're not no Ballast Point tonight, Nels Coney. I moved on from Ballast Point. It's actually Stone IPA today. That's how long Nels Coney's been listening to the show. So he did address that today. Like, moving forward, they're aware of it. They'll do a better job. But I could see that perspective, though, how it didn't feel like an award show and it felt more like an infomercial per se. Now, I didn't mind the commercial aspect of it because that, I think, like you said, Logic, like I think many of us have understood that that's kind of been the award show, the platform for the award show. But it does seem to me that this year, 2023, it was more of the commercial than it was developers coming up and accepting their awards.
And here's kind of one of my big problems with that, right? Just talking about, burdens of weight and, when you should line things up based on, the actual events that have occurred or the things that are going on. And one of my problems is we've talked about this being the greatest year in gaming ever, not ever, but in a long time. And I'm like, on the left hand, the greatest year of gaming, when we've had the largest kind of bumper crop of good games that have been delivered, we have concurrently in the right hand taken the Game Awards and yielded the least amount of time for those creative and development teams to actually have an opportunity to speak. Now, what I won't say and what I won't do is I will not go down the path where there's this notion that Jeff Keighley has some obligatory duty. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, the TGA is a commercial vehicle. He went out and walked the streets, right, and beat the bushes and put together the investment funding for it. He does that every year, or however periodically, whatever contractual agreements come up. It's not like Fox. It's not like Fox, right, or the CW or somebody gives him the money to go put this thing on, and it's not like you pay for access to it either, right? I mean, I sat down and watched the Game Awards in 4K on YouTube last night for free. And I mean, even if I didn't have a streaming service or didn't pay for cable or whatever, I would have had access to it. So I also don't, even though I feel like the show was bad, I also don't feel like it was bad because Jeff has some ethical and moral, obligation that he needs to fulfill, and he failed to do that.
Yeah, which is something actually that was brought up by an article by The Verge where they felt like Keeley should have used the platform to address some of the layoffs in the gaming industry. He didn't do that, and they were critical of him for not doing that. I don't think that he has to. I don't think he needs to. And I think, like you and I talked about earlier today, I think comparing layoffs to sexual harassment, which, as you mentioned, Logic this morning, is illegal. Layoffs are not illegal. And I'm not trying to make light of the layoffs. I mean, obviously, people's livelihoods were impacted, and I feel for the individuals impacted by these layoffs. But the reality of the matter is that he doesn't have to go out there and address that. And I thought it was kind of odd that people were putting that that responsibility solely on his plate because he addressed what was going on with ABK on Twitter prior to him announcing, or what he did was he on Twitter addressed the allegations of sexual harassment and abuse, and said, hey, look, that behavior is not okay, and Activision will not be at this year's Game Awards when that came out. And so I don't agree that he needs to use the platform to address layoffs. And look, as bad as layoffs are, I think that you know what? I'm not going to say that because if I say this, people are going to take it the wrong way. So I'll just move on from that point.
well, my thing is that the trying to foist that responsibility on him, that accountability on him, is just a false flag driven by an incredibly simplified argument, typically by people who don't actually work out in commercial industries in a 9-to-5, right? With people who live like normal career-oriented lives, like a lot of people do, or live an hourly wage kind of life, like a lot of people do. If you're going to say he should have taken a moment to address the layoffs, the layoffs are a symptom. They're not the root cause. So what you're really thinking, and if you then tunnel back, is you really have to say, well, the real problem was that the industry should have overhired. So what is he supposed to address on the Game Awards? Hey, big business, don't overhire when profits are up and sales are up and opportunity is up. I mean, yes, it's sad that people lost their jobs, but by the same token, people also had jobs. People also got their foot in the gaming industry for 2 or 3 years in a bow wave of opportunity that wouldn't have been there.
I mean, I almost did.
Right.
Like, yeah, I almost went to go work for ZeniMax. I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Logic.
And then, okay, so again, was overhiring the root cause? Overhiring wasn't the root cause in and of itself. Let's tunnel back a bit further. The root cause was the pandemic, because revenue shot through the roof, because demand shot through the roof, because people were at home. So now what are we supposed to say? Are we supposed to have Jeff Keighley address the pandemic? like when you do root cause analysis and you go all the way back, or you do operational risk analysis and you tunnel back to what root causes are, it doesn't necessarily make the most sense to say that somebody is accountable for preaching to an audience to stop a certain type of behavior when, as you and I talked about, it's not like the gaming industry, layoffs didn't just occur in the gaming industry. They occurred in tech. And by the way, it's an unfortunate thing that people need to hear, but while yes, when jobs drop off, they are typically cyclical. Yes, there was a drop off in jobs in the gaming industry. There was a drop off in jobs in tech. We also added 199,000 jobs last month or last quarter.
By the way, up from the month before, I might add.
Right. So yes, it's again,
and wages were going up too. I didn't look at the wage numbers. I don't know if wages had increased again, but I know that's a number that the Fed chair has been kind of pulling his hair out about, that the wages have keep going up. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So yeah, I mean, yes, yes, the gaming industry has had a slough off in jobs, but there are almost 1.8 million developer jobs that are unfilled in America alone. 40 million tech jobs in total that are unfilled. mainly due to the lack of talent, particularly in this country. Right, global shortage of software engineers may reach 85.2 million by 2030. So yes, there's been a drop-off in jobs in the gaming industry, maybe a drop-off in jobs in big tech, in certain tech sectors. But there are jobs, and there are jobs that are leverageable, that leverage the same skill sets. So, and again, this isn't me trying to say it's not a big deal, don't everybody flip out about it. My point is to say it's a very complex, dynamic problem that I think lands at a spot that doesn't equate it with putting on Jeff Keighley's shoulders an accountability for addressing a topic that, in my mind, exceeds the bounds and the mandate and the charter of the Game Awards.
Well said, Logic, and that's a great point you made about that. The layoffs are much more complex, and I don't know the name of the journalist at The Verge who wrote the article, but much more complex than they presented than just Keighley should have spoke up. I mean, like I said to you this morning, like the gaming industry isn't immune to the dynamics of capitalism, and the ebb and flows that we see in other industries. And I mean, we see it. I mean, I live this. I lived this for the last 16 years of my life, where hey, when the economy's booming and companies are making a lot of money, as they were during the pandemic, people were, at home, they were consuming video games, and they and the industry needed a hire to account for that consumption, that demand. It's not uncommon from other industries. So I thought that was a great point. By the way, I mentioned wage increases. Unemployment rate was actually the unemployment rate is pretty low still. I think it's under 4%. And wage increases have actually stayed ahead of inflation. This is actually per the jobs report that came out today. So I just wanted to mention that. You mentioned the labor market added 199,000 jobs. Unemployment rate is at 3.7%. So, but yeah, I don't disagree with you, Logic. I don't think he needs to carry that torch and address the layoffs or acknowledge it. The other thing that I was going to say earlier is that I don't think we see other. I don't understand why this needs to only be addressed in the industry, for the gaming industry, when we've had instances in other industries where mass layoffs have happened. I haven't seen. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone else kind of address it the way this person, The Verge, was describing Jeff should have addressed it. With the other industries that have had the kind of layoffs that we've seen in the gaming industry more recently this year. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yep.
All right. So I do want to go back to the kind of commercial aspect of the Game Awards, Logic. So in total, the Game Awards revealed about 61 new titles. That's up more than 50% year over year. Now, this is, by the way, according to The Best. You could probably guess. Logic, you could probably guess what the best gaming website is. News site.
GameIndustry.biz.
There you go, sir. So per GameIndustry.biz, the Game Awards 2023 saw an uptick in its game announcements compared to 2022 show. And again, the event revealed 61 new titles, up more than 50% year over year. When broken down by genre, 51% of the announcements were action-adventure games. I guess those games are okay now. And RPGs were second, comprising at 16%. I gotta say, like, I felt like some of the games they showed had a very dark tone to them. Given the volume of reveals, AAA titles only comprise 18% of the games that debuted last night. Are you surprised by that? That it's a little AAA, only 18% of the titles revealed were AAA, Logic?
Not necessarily, because this is one of the things that makes me kind of cranky about how the time was allocated last night, right? So, we didn't give devs time to talk. We didn't present actual awards, but we showed a lot of trailers and gave a lot of airtime to a lot of titles that, in my opinion, just like they're the games that pop up. When you boot up Steam and you get that little mini panel that comes up and has like the 5 meatballs at the bottom. Yeah, that tells you they felt like they were those games who came up in the pop up mini panel carousel when you boot Steam, and I'm like, I just don't know. Like that to me is the classic example of this company meeting could have been an email, you know? And again, that's not to say that those games don't matter or those games aren't important. I just don't know that they had the weight of importance as somebody who'd put out a game who had actually won an award.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat, the live chat here. I'm looking at these statistics here too, Logic. All right, most of the games were shown were that Steam analogy is funny. Most of the games shown were double A games at 31%, and mid-tier developed games accounted for 30% of new announcements. Regarding press coverage within 6 hours after the reveals, game industry business reporting that Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds made up 74% of media headlines. The Capcom Monster Hunter Wilds really didn't move the needle for me. Like it's not a game I'm interested in, but I know it's popular. Ninja Theory's Senyu Saga Hellblade 2 trailed behind Monster Hunter Wilds at 6, and also Jurassic Park was another one that trailed behind Monster Hunter Wilds at 68% of the headlines. Now, I will say this, Logic. I mean, I know we talk about the celebration of the industry. There are other award shows. Actually, I responded to somebody on Twitter. I think this person maybe works for Windows Central. I forget her name, but she's on Twitter. And I said, hey, I don't disagree with kind of the pacing and, maybe not giving enough airtime to developers to accept their awards and kind of running through some of the winners very quickly. But there are other award shows that we should highlight, that we should talk about more, that I feel like we don't talk about enough. DICE being one of them. GDC, the BAFTAs, the Golden Joysticks. There are other shows out there that I think that people could gravitate to, with maybe some of the issues that they're complaining about with the award show. Maybe following some of these other award show would be something that would be that they might find interesting.
I would jockey that just a little bit, right? In terms of not all of those award shows have television or streamed presentations.
No, they don't. No, that's true.
So yeah, I totally agree with you from a, you're gonna be outraged because of a game that was included in a category or something like that, dissatisfaction with the rules set, or you're unhappy that the media didn't vote in accordance with your own opinion. Maybe you should again take a look at, like you said, the DICE Awards, which is awards actually given by industry professionals, or the BAFTA Awards that actually is probably closer to our notion of the Oscars, which we constantly try and compare the TGAs to. In terms of like that's an academy and an institutionalized membership, right? That that is consolidated and is held together right on a continuing basis right throughout the year. Like they're not just a ragtag of people who are assembled, at the last minute, right, to do these things, per annum. So there's a little more stick-to-itiveness kind of in the standardization and the commonality, by which they judge these things. So, you said GDC too, right?
Yeah, the GDC has their own awards as well. And then the Golden Joysticks would be the other one too, which they're
voted on by fans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the fans complain, oh, we don't have a say, it's media bias. But I'm like, well, you have the Golden Joysticks, and I believe and those are actually streamed live.
and the data point of correlation is in both the Golden Joysticks and the Players' Voice Awards, where people voted. Baldur's Gate 3 was elected right for both of those.
And we see Baldur's Gate 3 win Game of the Year here at the Game Awards this year. As it should, by the way. That's Game of the Gen there, Hamp. All right, I'm trying to pull up Jeff Keighley's... let's see here. He put up that poll, and I'm trying to find it right now. Here we go. All right, Jeff Keighley asked, how would you grade the Game Awards 2023? 24.7% of the respondents gave it a excuse me, grade letter of an A. 31.7% gave it a B. 20.7% gave it a C, and 23% gave it a D or below. So, it seems like. So it's funny, like when I read some of the outrage, some of the people that were really upset about the presentation of the awards and how and what they've become with this iteration of the award show, it does seem like just based on this poll, that majority of the people seem to have enjoyed the show.
Yeah, and I mean, I see correlation of that data point, all over Twitter, with people who are posting their own individual polls. Is, in general, you seem to get votes that result in, an A/B score, in aggregate, well above 50%. So to me, it's like I said, the comment that I made on Twitter is I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, it was a bad, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, outrage, they should have addressed blah blah blah," but yet we'll say it was a great show. Or, the thing that I just personally don't agree with is, you're out here, trashing video games, right? Calling games trash, calling games mid, calling games, all sorts of things that, in my opinion, are insulting to the actual creative talent working on those games. I mean, people working on games, that's a developer who, has nights that they don't go home and see their kids and family, right? Because they're working on a video game, right? And you're out here kind of casually talking about it, like it's like I said, calling it these things, but then you're concurrently expressing outrage, right? That people weren't given their flowers or people weren't given their time, and that to me seems intellectually inconsistent.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. All right, Laja, let's move on to the games that they revealed here. Were there any particular games that stood out to you and games that you're interested in?
I mean, I will admit, by being salty over the developers not getting time kind of clouded my radar a lot, where I just didn't. There were some things that I thought I thought God of War Ragnarok DLC coming out is neat. The announcement that it's free, is a nice business move for
Now we know why Jim Ryan got fired.
Hey, it's a Sony Pay station. It seems like they're walking a lot of that back
for the payers.
That's right. That's right. What was the other thing? Because they also recently talked about the $10 upgrade, right, for The Last of Us for Kilo 2, which they didn't do when they did the old time Kilo 1 remake, right, when it came out on PS4. After coming out on PS3, there was no reciprocation, right? If you were going to play it on PS4, you just paid full price.
Paid full price, exactly. Yeah.
But it was neat. It was cool that Arcane Leon is working on Blade,
which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, the thing that blew my mind and that I got hyped for, even though I will probably not play a lot of these games, but because in my own past life as a console warrior, I rep the Sega brand. And for Sega to do its mega announcement of 5 new games in development, I thought was pretty hype.
Logic, let's talk about that, because I was like, yes. Jet Set Radio Future, Golden Axe, Shinobi, that's all I had to hear, by the way. I mean, wow, right? Crazy Taxi?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, Shinobi being like one of my old time favorite franchises, like ever, right? And for it to finally like be back is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love that Sega announcement. That was actually one of my favorite announcements that evening. Seeing those franchises that I grew up with. I mean, that's to an extent that's some of my childhood and some of my early adulthood. Jet Set Radio is funny. Jet Set Radio Future is one of my and Jet Set Radio as well, one of my favorite games from Sega. And then Golden Axe. I mean, I remember going to the arcades and Man, just popping in the quarters for Golden Axe. And then I remember when it released on the Sega Genesis and just spending hours upon hours playing Golden Axe. Just an amazing game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else stand out to you on last night's show?
I also want to mention that it was so awesome at the end of the trailer for the
For the what?
For the dude to say Sega.
Yeah, Sega. Yeah, that was actually cool.
So it was nice to get the reveal of Light No Fire. I thought that was interesting. Not in a day one I'm gonna be there interesting, but just a let's see what Sean Murray is up to. Let's see if he learned his lesson from the No Man's Sky reveal. Let's see how he handles things, and I'm interested to he's got a keen mind for game design. Now he's got the experience of No Man's Sky and all of the expansions that he's put under that thing. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes with this.
Yeah, no, it looked it piqued my interest there a little bit. I love the aesthetic of the game. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on for sure.
So, and here's the thing that in my mind put everyone to shame. Skull and Bones got a release date.
You know what? I was actually thinking about you when they announced that, because I know you and I've talked about that, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Hamp's going to be excited for this, because this game's kind of been out there for a little bit, and I was surprised.
It's been in development hell. Like let's not make any bones about it.
Yeah, it has been development. I was surprised by the announcement. Yeah, go ahead.
But this is what I kind of talk about. So right now we have
and the beta, by the way. Beta was coming December 15th. They announced that too. So next week.
Yes, yeah, they've been doing trials of the game all year, and this is because I was in a closed alpha. There were 3 phases I think of closed alpha: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I think I was in like the phase 2 closed alpha. So this is why I've just I didn't want to say anything about it, but this is why I've always contended. Everybody who keeps running around saying that game's never coming out, this game's never coming out, I'm like, that game's coming out. Like, I'm actively seeing them spend money getting that game ready to be released. It's coming out. And what we have right now is we have Ubisoft doing that. We have Ubisoft having released Avatar with these unobtainium graphic settings that you can put in it. I mean, like I said, this is not me saying Ubisoft is like the greatest publisher ever, but I will say one of the traits that they have that people often sleep on and tend to ignore is Ubisoft has one of the highest grade marks, in my opinion, of stick-to-itiveness. They will, I'm not saying that it's doing their company well financially, but they stick with their games. They steadily release DLC. They are still releasing content for Riders Republic. Right? I'm like, what is going on? I bought the Crew Motorfest because they stuck with the Crew 2 and continuously release content for it. They stick with these games, they see them through, they turn them around, and they are, in my mind, reasonable about those games needing to hit like a community level that is like, everything doesn't have to be a Rainbow Six Siege, right? For them to stick with it. It just needs to hit a minimum loyal fan base, and it seems like they will stick with the game and continue to invest. So I'm really impressed that in a world where we have basically slagged every game that's come out to PC for not being performant, for them to drop Avatar in December, putting it well outside of any contention for any kind of Game of the Year awards because it won't be remembered next year, but still putting the polish on it to have those graphical enhancements on it when you have games like Jedi Survivor, Starfield, bigger budget games, right? Bigger title games coming out that didn't do that well of a job, to me is super impressive. So, Skull and Bones getting a release date when, Hellblade 2 gets, 2024, I think is the kind of thing that, in my mind, that makes a coach go into the locker room and say, why is this guy the only one who's playing hard?
Yeah. No, the trailer looked great too, by the way. Like I'm, one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games is the, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and that game actually had a lot of naval engagements and would allow you to customize your ship. So when they revealed Skull and Bones, it made me think of that game, and so the game's kind of been on my radar for a little bit. So I'm definitely excited that it's finally has a release date of March 2024. So, anything else, Logic, that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest segment of the show, the greatest segment of the show was Tales of Kinzera, Zao. So this was, this was where the guy, Abubakar Salim, came up and mentioned that. I forget what he has been a voice actor in, but he's been a voice, Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Assassin's Creed Mirage, and there was another game or something else he mentioned, yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, so he gave the heartfelt story of how he had a relationship with his dad, and his dad got him into video games, and that sent him off to go get into voice acting initially. But he was after being in the game for a while as a voice actor, he kind of always had this desire to get into game development, but a fear that he wouldn't be successful, or that he wouldn't be smart enough to catch on to it, and finally said, a year or a couple of years ago, said, I'm just going to do the damn thing. And he comments that he took everything that he had, which I assume he means like all of his savings, and he put it in, and he said, I'm going to take the risk and, to honor my dad, and I'm going to go out on this venture. Sorry, I was thinking about this on the drive home, and I was getting a little choked up, and I'm getting a little choked up now. But then, showed his trailer for the game, which is a 2D side scroller that, to me, stylistically it doesn't look this way, but to me it gives me Ori vibes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ori vibes, kind of that Metrovania type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, super looking forward to that. I'm gonna go and wish list it as soon as I possibly can, pre-order it as soon as I possibly can. Like that message spoke to me just in terms of the things that I want to see out of creators. Whether the game's good, bad, sell super well or not, that's somebody who's committing and putting their heart and soul into a game, and in my mind, that's what we want out of the industry.
Yeah, I agree with that. It definitely gave me the Ori vibes, and looks like it may have some kind of Metroidvania type elements to it. Something that's on my radar too. Anything else? Anything else, Logic?
This would pique my the Last Sentinel piqued my interest a little in that trailer.
Yeah, that looked interesting. That definitely looked interesting. Now, I got to say, one of the things I was happy to see was that Black Myth Wukong got a release date of August 20th, 2024. And that game's been on my radar for quite some time. I thought the trailer looked pretty good. All the trailers that they've shown, in my opinion, have looked pretty good. And so I'm excited to see that game and its release. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait on the reviews for that. But I was happy to see that game got a release date. Let's see here. What other games?
What did you think about What did you think about the additional look at Suicide Squad?
I actually missed that trailer.
Yeah, I will say every single time up to this point, that game has been pitched, even if it's just in text, right? Or people talking about it on stage, or, and definitely all the trailers. Every single time without fail, I've said, nope. The entire premise, and again, I'm a comic book nerd. The entire premise to me is like, that's no. But the trailer last night, for whatever reason, I started thinking of it a little bit more. This is just kind of like I was initially not with Injustice until I really started thinking about it as kind of an Elseworld tale. And I started turning the corner on that last night. And then when I saw some of the, maybe it was a little bit of seeing the combat, but just more so just kind of seeing how maybe the story, the setup of the story. I don't know. It was my first twinge of interest, not nearly enough to pile me over the top, but my point is, when I have been 100% against any notion of me spending 1 second entertaining the notion of that game, where I've just been, get it out of my face, don't bother me, don't waste my time with it. Last night I hit the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to where this is going right from now until release, just to see if it is kind of turning the corner.
Yeah. Well, I hope it does. I mean, it's a talented developer. So, hopefully that the game is good when it releases. Did you mention Exodus? Did you talk about that?
I didn't. I figured you were going to talk about there were a lot of good sci-fi trailers last night. Games.
Yeah, I was joking. I wasn't joking, but I was like, oh, Exodus did Starfield right. Matthew McConaughey actually came out because he's actually a voice actor in this game. This is a Archetype Entertainment is actually a studio based in Austin, comprised of ex-Bioware devs. So I was excited, and I've heard about this game. I was excited to see the trailer. Look, anything ex-Bioware, and I wonder if this is the same. I don't think it is. I don't think Laidlaw is part of this developer. I think Laidlaw is part of another developer that's made up of ex-Bioware developers. And actually, I had the pleasure of doing a podcast many, many years ago with Mike Laidlaw, ex-Bioware developer behind Dragon Quest. I'm not Dragon Quest. Dragon Age and Mass Effect. And so that's one of my favorite podcasting moments. But I thought it looked great. This game is a game on my radar now. As you say, Logic, hopefully they stick to landing with it. But I like what I saw from a sci-fi perspective.
Yeah, I would say the last thing on my list, and again, I'm expecting that there's going to be a few more that you talk about. The last thing on my list that kind of caught my eye, piqued my interest was Ready or Not 1.0 leaving early access. So this is a game from a lot of developers who worked on a game called SWAT 4, backed by Sierra, when Vivendi Universal used to actually be separate before they had become a big investment partner with Actor. Yeah, from the old.
That brings back
memories.
Yeah.
The old King's Quest and Space Quest games.
Oh yeah.
So SWAT 4 was a game that I played a huge amount of back. It was a game that kind of ran at the same time as Rainbow Six Rogue Spear when I was first getting into those games before, a lot of the Rainbow Six series got consolified, which, I was never particularly happy about, but I was surprised to. I've played that game and I've been part of the early access, for a little bit. I haven't played it consistently, but I've ducked back from time to time. But I was very surprised to see that it was leaving early access and going final. It seemed to have a lot more kind of story polish and mission polish than the last time I checked in. Where the last time I checked in, it was the big conceit was unless you knew, you didn't even know how to start a mission. The whole mission start thing was for you to go stand on this red carpet behind the chief's desk, the SWAT team lead captain's desk or whatever. Mm-hmm. And once all four players were standing on it, then the mission would start. I'm like, how the hell were you supposed to know that? So it seems like it's picked up a lot of polish. So it'll be interesting, as we always say, to see if that game sticks the landing and is kind of worth, people who aren't in for that, early access jank, to see if it's hit that point where it's performing well enough for people to play.
Yeah. One other game that really got me excited was, and I love Moon Studios. I love the Ori games. I think the Ori games are fantastic. Moon Studios revealed their new IP in No Rest for the Wicked. I thought that looked great. And this is very much a hack and slash type game. But this is one that's definitely gonna be on my radar. Have you played the Ori games, Logic?
I have. I think I've played more of the second one than the first one.
Yeah, I have too. Yeah, I played more of the second one. Yeah, the Ori games are so good.
I think the second one came out after the whole day and date thing, and so when Ori became when Will of the Wisp became available, it was available on both PC and Xbox. So I think that's when I started or played more of it then.
Yeah. And for those who listen to the show on a regular basis, many of you know that I'm an Atlas fan. I love the Persona series. Persona. Atlas actually showed off their new trailer for the new game Metaphor. I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of it. I'm just going to call it Metaphor. It's their new RPG. I thought that is going to be something that's definitely on my radar. I'm a big fan of the Persona series. Let's see here. What else? As I'm thinking, Logic, anything else stand out to you as I'm thinking about other games that?
You want to talk about Rise of Ronin?
Yeah, I like anything Team Ninja. You know, I know this is Koei Tecmo Team Ninja. I know you said it's a reskin, but what was the game you mentioned? It's a reskin of.
I was being a little joking about that, but
it is kind of a reskin though. Like I don't.
Wolong, yeah,
Wolong, yeah. No, it kind of is, but no, I thought the actual footage that they showed at the Game Awards show didn't look as good as actually the YouTube videos that I saw, and actually the PlayStation trailer that PlayStation released on their social media account on X. This is, coming off Ghost of Tsushima, this has definitely piqued my interest. And look, I like anything that's, set in medieval Japan. I mean, this is something that, Sekiro comes to mind. But yeah, this is definitely a game on my radar. We actually got a release date for Rise of the Ronin for March 22nd, 2024. Trying to think.
So I guess the three big sci-fi games were Exodus, The First Descendant, and Exoborn.
Exoborn, yeah.
Which is Exoborn is an extraction shooter.
Yes. Yep.
That was the other thing that caught my ear and my eye is the Skull and Bones announcement talked about 3-player co-op. Right? And in fact, that's the only thing they talked about. That's the only thing that little bit trailer showed. Mm-hmm. It was like, up to 3-player co-op. And I was like, co-op? I was like, and no mention of PvP. So I wonder if they're rolling that game out as primarily a PvE game, which would be super interesting, and B, may actually make more people play it because there won't be the seal clubbing.
That's a great point, man. Seal clubbing actually works for that game. Yeah, that's funny. The other game for me, look, I like, again, if you listen to the show, I like my JRPGs. Vision of Mana was Square Enix revealed the trailer for that. I don't know if that's, look, I've played the Mana series. I've enjoyed it, but I don't know if that's something I'll play. But it could be something I pick up depending on what's in my backlog or what I'm playing at the time. All right, what else? I think we talked about, there's some other games that they're on my radar that I'm not going to talk about because I have about 30 minutes before I need to wrap up the show here.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about is, leading up to the Game Awards show, Xbox told its fans that they should tune in, be seated for major announcements. And yes. I kind of want to hear what your feeling was of, did the Xbox presence at the Game Awards show live up to that claim?
It's a great question. I don't know, man. I maybe. Look, the Blade announcement's big, and I thought Hellblade 2 looked really good. By the way, like Hellblade 2, and we didn't get an exact release date. We got a release window of 2024. Who knows when in 2024? And given Microsoft's issues with, we talked about this on this show, with managing their production pipeline. I think it's going to be late 2024, but you never know with them. Again, I thought the graphically the game looked great. And I said this on X when they revealed the new trailer that this is the kind of looking game. This is the kind of game when I think about when I bought my Series X that I wanted to see visually from Microsoft. When you tout the most powerful console on planet Earth and universe, the most powerful console ever made, that it eats monsters for breakfast. This is the kind of thing that I wanted to see from them. So that was great. But Hellblade, we've seen it before. The Blade 2 announcement's big. But there might be an asterisk behind that announcement.
Well, it's big, but and this is not to say anything about Arcane. They're one of my favorite studios ever, and I would readily claim, like, the two big gets, maybe the three big gets by Microsoft and the acquisitions, the things that are the golden goose eggs in their portfolio was Obsidian, Playground Studios, and Arcane. Like I personally don't think Bethesda does a whole lot for them, but Arcane I felt like is huge.
Well, my hesitation too, by the way, Logic, is I was thinking about the Coalition. Like when they say expect something big, I'm thinking like, okay, we've already seen Hellblade. Yes, Blade, big announcement. I'm not going to take that away from them. That's big. But I was thinking, okay, maybe we hear something from the Coalition about Perfect Dark remake with the Coalition.
You're talking about the Initiative.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the Coalition. The Initiative. Thank you.
No, I totally agree. And the Coalition, right? I mean, what I said would have constituted major announcements for me would have been, and again, they use we do this all the time. People get mad at me when I say it. I'm like, look, I'm not telling you what I said. I'm telling you what they said. Major announcements, plural, would have meant two or more of announcements that hit my threshold for what I would call major. And so, yeah, I would have been like, hearing the Initiative, much less seeing a gameplay trailer from what the Initiative has got together. Same thing from Coalition. Hearing the announcement of a new Gears title would have been big. The Indiana Jones game, right, from Machine Games, like that would have been big. Knowing what id is doing would have been big. So, there were multiple opportunities for them to do, to me, what would have constituted major announcements. Senua's Saga doesn't cut it for me, again, because I'm not personally interested in that game.
But we've seen that, though. Like, that's, like, we've seen that already.
Right.
Like, that's not
we've seen it 4 or 5 years, right? And I mean, no offense, but I mean, we're at the point now where we've seen that thing as many times as The Last of Us 2 before it came out, right? So, that didn't do anything for me. For me personally, Kojima is a great creative mind, but like he's made 2 games that I like, and I don't personally fall out of my seat for a Kojima announcement, particularly when it's an announcement that's equivalent to the very early days of Death Stranding, where we didn't know what the frock that game was until right before it came out, right? So the one part of that was near what I would consider major was the Jordan Peele reveal, right?
Yeah, I mean that was probably the big surprise, but. Look, I mean, to your point, this is kind of why I hesitated when you asked me what I thought about the what Xbox had to show, and versus what they had mentioned in terms of their marketing. Like I hesitated because the Blade announcement was big, but outside of that, like everything that they showed, we kind of knew already.
Well, here's my thing about the Blade announcement. I love the Blade announcement. I love that Arcane is doing it. But I don't. Arcane like barely crosses the line for what for me I would call AAA, right? To me, they are like the alpha expression of a AA game at peak, right? And then none of their games really do commercially well. Which
is a shame, by the way, because they're really good. I mean, Dishonored is Dishonored 1 or 2 are fantastic games, but
yeah. So that's a thing.
And you saw that Arcane aesthetic to Blade, which. I'll ask you about here in just a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that thing is just teeters right on the edge for me. It's like, was that a major announcement? From an IP perspective, absolutely. Here's the thing, and then Call of Duty Season 1, I'm like, come on, like the foregone conclusion, whatever, that doesn't count. Now, here's the thing that really kills me. In one of their announcements, in air quotes, was, and I didn't even know that this had happened because I didn't catch it. Maybe it was super overt during the show, but it certainly didn't leap out at me. I didn't realize Baldur's Gate 3 got shadow dropped and was available on Xbox right away.
Yeah, and I can't count that as a huge announcement either because we knew the game was coming.
We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming in December.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, big announcement that it's shadow. I mean, look, the shadow drop. Sony did it last night. Microsoft did it last night. It's great, but that doesn't. To me, that's not. That's just not. That's not like a huge announcement.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't come way out of left. It's Hi-Fi Rush. That's a major announcement. Shadow drop, right? But it's like Baldur's Gate 3 was not. Now, what did Sony shadow drop last night?
What are they? What is it? The Final Fantasy 16 DLC.
Oh, that's right, the DLC.
Today.
Okay.
Not Baldur's Gate. The PlayStation. What am I talking? God of War Valhalla DLC, which is releasing next week for free.
Yeah, but that's but that's not a shadow drop.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. That's not shadow drop. But that was more kind of a surprise announcement, and the fact that it was going to be free. Look, and I'm not saying that Microsoft didn't have a good showing at the Game Awards. I thought they had a really good showing. I just don't think that it lived up to the kind of hype that they were putting out there. Like, definitely tune in for these, massive announcements. Like, I don't think it lived up to that per se. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Blade. Blade's big, but everything else that they show, we kind of knew already. And again, that's not to say that those aren't good gets for Xbox. Like I saw somebody in the live chat just say, who was it? Damn, these guys are so picky. No, we're actually discussing Microsoft's own messaging about the award show and what they actually showed.
Yeah, we actually articulated to you what would have constituted major announcements for us.
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't be picky. I wouldn't be looking for major announcements if somebody hadn't run their mouth right and opened it and set an expectation. And again, now.
Well, I mean, look.
I just felt on the cliff of being angry.
No, but
look. If you're not picky.
Yeah.
If you're not picky, that's not my fault. If your expectations are that low, that's not my fault. If you don't want anything, then that's not my fault. If you're just fine taking whatever they shovel at you and give you and just accept it, then that's fine. But you're one of the people that we talk about who's the problem with the industry. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but logic, I mean, had they not said anything though, I mean, at all, and set that expectation, we might be having a different conversation.
Well, haven't I said, like, for the longest time, like, I swear, I think the problem is Aaron Greenberg.
Well, again, and I'm gonna reiterate this. We're not saying that they didn't have a good showing. It's a great showing. I just don't think, and you heard me hesitate when you asked me the question. I hesitated because I was like, maybe not to the expectation they set, but it was still a good show for Xbox compared to like last year where they didn't even show that drove Ryan McCaffrey to write an article on IGN about Microsoft not showing up at the Game Awards.
They just showed Game Pass commercials. I'll also say, I am being picky because I'm talking about the things that I want, and we just went through those things. What would have been things that would have excited us as people who play Xbox and play Xbox games? I'm sorry. I'm not excited about Senua's Saga. I'm not excited about the Kojima game. I'm not excited about Baldur's Gate 3 because I've already played it on PC and PlayStation 5. And I'm not excited about Call of Duty Season 1 because I already knew that was coming.
Yeah. I think the Jordan Peele announcement's big. I don't think it's pretty big, though. Like, I just don't.
No, it was just interesting.
That's fair. That's it. It's interesting. But I don't think it's a big deal because Kojima's collaborated with other creators in Hollywood. I mean, Guillermo del Toro comes to mind with Death Stranding. So, like, I can't say that,
Yeah, but Jordan Peele is for me. Look, of the things that happened last night with Hollywood participation, the things that I'm okay with, and the reason why I was fine with Christopher Judge's speech last year is there are people who have been doing a lot of work, working very hard, and have not gotten the recognition for it, but land on something either in a video game or in association with a video game. Look, Anthony Mackie was out on stage far too long last night. He was very awkward. It was clear that,
was he telling people to shut up?
Yeah. I mean, that was a little jokey and stuff. I mean, he was telling his own fans to shut. But this is the reason why I give it a pass, and I completely accept that you can drag me through the mud for giving it a pass. This is we learned through our friend Ramon, but also through the strike, that there are thousands, millions of actors. There's an incredibly small number of people that are stars. Anthony Mackie is a guy who has been putting in a ton of work. He's showed up in IPs that are very popular for a lot of people. But look, he spent a big chunk of his career being the guy who shows up, who never gets recognized by fans, who constantly see him and say, "Oh, you're the black dude who was in that thing." This is a guy who's now right on the cusp of being a star. And I get that what I feel like I'm seeing from him is just a person who's going through the imposter syndrome reveal of like, holy crap, I've actually made it. So I get it. But my point is that there are people who have come through. I've been a huge fan of Christopher Judge's because I love Stargate. I loved his character on that show. I love what Anthony Mackie has done. You can not like him as Captain America, but I like that whole story arc. We all said we all thought Twisted Metal was going to be a failure.
I thought he was great, Twisted Metal.
Well, that's my point. We all thought that was going to be a failure, right? And it's gone on to get huge praise and got greenlit for a season 2. So, I mean, my whole point is I'm tying this back to the Jordan Peele reveal. I get that I didn't move the needle for some people, but like that Jordan Peele is a creator who comes out of a comedy skit routine who we would have never expected to go off and do like the horror stuff and the sci-fi stuff that he's doing. And it's pretty incredible and amazing to see that arc in Hollywood.
His range is great, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it really, you have to give him, you have to recognize him for his range in terms of comedy and then doing the horror stuff. One of my favorite Jordan Peele skits is when he does a Dominican baseball player slap. I think his name was Slap Ass. Did you ever see that? My God, that was funny. Heavy. Oh, when he does Obama. But yeah, go ahead, man.
So one guy's commenting in the chat, Warawana, Flute Guy went hard. Jeff knew how to put him on the side. So I'm going to say, great if you were looking for Flute Guy. Now again,
I already know where you go with this.
so I'm a guy who would have been, my primary plan actually coming out of high school is I actually had a scholarship at a university where I was going to go for my music degree. That's where I was headed until I got intercepted and got sent off somewhere to do something else. But what I actually picked up, but I like watching musical performances and I'm into soundtracks and all that. So I love that medley they put at the end of like the 5 or the nominee, the Game of the Year nominees, right, with all their theme songs. Great if you watch Flute Guy. But if you go back and watch the performance, check out the back row, because the rest of the orchestra is having a very like, we're all in suits, we're all got our black on, there's a very like, cordial kind of, performance that we're giving on. But the freaking back row with the drummer in the white t-shirt and the guitarist and the pianist, they were having a jam session and a party. And the dude on the piano just started going off when they got to the Zelda theme, and then by the time they got to the Spider-Man 2 theme, the girl on the guitar starts waving her hair all around. I'm like, it's like a freaking Lenny Kravitz concert back there. So it was fun to see. I enjoy it. It's good to see.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that musical performance. By the way, I didn't know this, but Sam Lake was actually one of the dancers, and that musical performance with what's the name of that?
The Alan Wake thing. Look, maybe okay. I'm a Broadway show guy too. I like going to see a good Broadway show.
Sam Lake was out there. Like I was like, what is Sam Lake doing out here?
But here's my problem. I'm also going back to my comic book thing. I also love The Martian Manhunter, and so the actor who played Gian Jones on the Supergirl show was also part of that troupe. And like I had nodded off, and I woke up. And like one of my favorite actors who played like a very serious, hyper serious role in a comic book show, I wake up and this person's doing a Broadway musical routine, and I'm like, no. I did the whole I can't remember, the Tracy Gordon thing. I'm like, no, hell no, get him off the stage.
By the way, we have 127 people watching. Please do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't noticed already. Helps the channel out. Appreciate the support as always. Again, we're not, at least I'm not saying it. I don't think you are either, Logic. I think we would agree that the Xbox did really have they had a good showing at the Game Awards.
No.
I don't think so. I think they did. I think they did.
I think that the things that they showed hit a marketing level of polish. Like this was not the Halo Infinite initial reveal, right?
The Senua thing with the live band and the dancers and everything, that was great.
Bro, how many times have they done a musical number for Hellblade 2?
Oh, I can't recall, but I thought that was great.
At the TGAs. I'm like, I don't need to see yet another musical rendition. Look, we talk about games that have a problem when they show up at E3 or the TGAs too many times. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is definitely in that bucket. It's going to be a 7.5 to 8 hour game. It has been however you look at it, whether it was announced too early or hasn't shown enough gameplay, they've constantly brought it back, showing us these cinematic pieces that there's a chunk of people who aren't interested. This is a game that has the potential to grab people's attention, but you can't just show its graphical fidelity. You have to tell them why they should be interested, and why they should be interested isn't just because it looks good.
Logic. I've been star for a game that looks good on the Xbox platform. I'm okay with that. No, I mean, like, that's how. I mean, like, all jokes aside, like, that's how low the bar's gotten for that platform. Like, and again, this goes back to my criticism of the Xbox. I go back to like 20 years. I go back to the Xbox 360. Remember when they first showed us Gears of War? Go back to the original Xbox, where they showed us Ninja Gaiden, when they showed us Halo, when they showed us what's the other game? Splinter Cell. You know, like I feel like Xbox has been missing that graphical show. You know, that thing that makes you say, "Wow, look at that!" You know. I understand what you're saying. Like, for me, that's wanted that, and I've been getting it elsewhere. Like, that to me was like, yeah, this is great. They need more of this, especially after they've marketed the Xbox Series X console as being the most powerful console, eats monsters for breakfast. You know, that's why that works for me, at least.
Yeah, like I said, for me, they hit the minimum threshold of marketing polish that was needed, but they didn't necessarily do. If you had slots to do 5 announcements, they didn't necessarily use them in ways that to me were impactful. Like I said, I'm being consistent to what I said before the show, which is right. What I would have liked to have seen would have been for them to take what is now a plethora of games across their portfolio that they've told us teams are working on. I would have liked seeing them tighten some of those down to release dates, particularly ones that were better than calendar year 2024, particularly where Matt Booty is saying you're going to get 4 releases next year. Right, and now what we know is Senua's Saga is one of them. Again, not a thing that's hugely relevant to me. And Towerborn is the second one. That leaves 2 slots, right, for hopes of delivery in 2024, and we don't know what those are yet.
Yeah.
Again, I'm saying this from the context of what the platform that's in third place needs to do.
Yeah. Well, look, I think for the platform that's in third place, I thought this was a really good showing for them. I think I didn't look again. I don't agree that it lived up to what Microsoft had advertised it to be. And I look, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2 looked great. I'm okay with that graphical vertical slice that just looks like wow. You know, I'm okay with that because they haven't had that in a long time. So for setting expectations of major announcements and a quantified number of 5 times at bat, you're okay with them hitting a homer one of those times. I just want to see pretty graphics.
That sounds to me like a player you send back down to AA.
Hey, come on, man! Like, look, hey, again, we're talking about Xbox here.
All right. Yeah.
Look, I mean, Logic, we haven't had those experiences on the Xbox platform. I mean, I can't think of a game. Just solely focus on solely focusing on the visuals. I can't think of a game and years from Xbox first party that's wowed me like that. The way that Hellblade 2 did last night, and I'm like, this is why I buy a new console every generation. You know, to get better.
Play Hellblade?
Huh?
Play Hellblade? That's a reason for buying a console?
No, I'm not saying Hellblade. I'm not saying that Hellblade's the reason to buy a console. I'm saying like what they showed is why I upgrade every generation. You know, that visual. You know, to get that fidelity that we didn't get the last generation. That's only one aspect there. Yeah.
But BRAP, this game is going to be day and date, isn't it?
Yes.
So you will be playing it on PC. So what does it matter?
No, I'm just saying for Xbox. No, it doesn't matter. I'm just speaking like as for Xbox, right? I'm like, yeah, obviously I'll be on PC playing it, but I'm saying like for Xbox, it was a good showing for the Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I do have a super chat here. Yeah, Stody with the $5 super chat says, you guys hear that Activision wasn't too happy about Christopher Judge's comment about Call of Duty's campaign being too short. I actually did read that on Twitter. Actually, I think Stone had mentioned that. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. They were upset. But hey, I thought it was a funny joke.
I mean, I felt it was a little cringe when he said it. I was like, ooh, that
thought it
feels
was
like a
funny.
little bit.
I
I
thought
mean,
it was funny.
it was funny, but I also felt it was a little cringe. Like I felt it was a little. But then I looked at it, I was like, at first I was trying to figure out, oh, was that scripted? But then I was like, I think Christopher Judge actually plays games, and I think he's well within his rights to assert that the campaign was too short, if he feels that way.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Froggy T writes here. Froggy, why are you here? Like, serious question. Why are you here? I'm going to make this easy for you real quick. Go ahead, Logic.
No. I mean, I think maybe the other statistic we should mention is, you know, did we mention it at the top of the show that Xbox got 3 awards last night. Spider-Man 2 got no awards. Sony got no awards for video games.
Well, you know, the Xbox tax. I mean, you know, they got 3 awards. Sony got 0 awards. The Xbox tax.
Right. Yeah. Hey, imagine how many awards they would have gotten if the media weren't actively working against them in a conspiracy.
Actually, someone said that to me. I was no, Froggy T right. It's not about people being critical of me. It's just that you say dumb shit. It's not like you're not being critical. You're just being dumb. Like you like. Again, I don't know why you're here. You clearly don't like the content we put out. I think that speaks more to you than it does us, because you keep coming back and listening to things that you don't care about or agree with. So why are you here?
I mean, I guess it's kind of flattering. We kind of have our own version of the 2 old guys up on the balcony of the Muppet Show.
Yeah. Froggy T writes a Muppet. Yeah. I mean, he feels the need to come back and drive engagement for the channel. Like I don't care people that are critical of me. I don't be critical. But if you're going to be critical, at least be smart about it. You know, don't come in here and say, "Oh, you moved the goalpost. Oh, perhaps a fake neutral." That's not being critical. That's being a fucking child, Froggy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Logic.
Yeah. So a few other people asked a question in that direction. Have the COD developers gone after Christopher Judge? I don't know that they've done anything other than say, "Hey, we didn't appreciate the snarky comment." You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know Stone tweeted something out. I don't know if that super chat, if that was Stone. Thank you, Stone. So I see Stoney, so that's why I said maybe it's Stone. I don't know if it's her. But I did see Stone say something about it on Twitter today. So,
but my thing is, like, what's their point? I mean, are they asserting that? Through all this controversy of Call of Duty, and first of all, I spoke about this on my own show. I personally feel the media controversy about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is actually overblown. I've played Modern Warfare 3, and there are lots of things that I actually like about Modern Warfare 3, and that I actually like about. I'm not super crazy about the price, and I don't think that the price necessarily was commensurate with what they put out. But the basic model of, you know, here I've spent time in Modern Warfare 2, and now we're coming up on the year, and unlike every other year of COD, where I basically drop all my prestige, drop all my weapons, lose everything, and start over. There are aspects of that are good in terms of it kind of levels the playing field for players. You know, it basically wipes everybody's stats and forces you to start over. So there's a part of that dynamic that's kind of good. But there's an argument to be had that says, hey, maybe, you know, again, this whole notion that Activision just talked about letting that thing be a continuing service game, and you not just losing everything year after year, and you feeling some, you know, greater return on investment because you get to keep stuff, and you eventually develop, you know, having favorite weapons that stick with you for it. Like there's value in that. But, you know, through all of that controversy, I personally haven't read or heard Sledgehammer say, you know, you're wrong, the campaign's not too short. It's actually just right for what our creative intent was. It's always been, we were given a limited amount of time to turn the game around.
Well, they did have a limited amount of time to turn it around. Like, we know that. I mean, maybe that's something they should have said. I don't know, but
yeah. So it's. I mean, so my point is, you know, they're salty about the snarky comment, but they're not saying that the snarky comment wasn't warranted or wasn't valid.
Yeah. PR. That's what PR needs to step and say, wait a minute, guys, we gotta address this. All right, got your boy Roy with the $2 super chat says, well, as a gamer, I don't appreciate half-ass games. Thank you for that super chat, your boy Roy. All right, I do want to go to Blade real quick, because that's one of the big reveals that was shown at last night's Game Awards, and it's kind of interesting. And I didn't know this until I really wasn't paying attention. I think I was just excited to see the Blade trailer. I thought it was like the sequel to Deathloop until you get to the barber shop and you see that it's in fact Blade. You see the barber cut himself. He's a little nervous. Blade's like, "Hey, don't worry, I don't bite." Look, I think that this is a big get for Xbox, whether or not it's exclusive. But I didn't notice at first that because typically what you'll see from Microsoft, from Xbox, is that when a first party studio is working on a game, you'll see the Xbox logo. You'll see some association to Xbox, that it's exclusive to the Xbox or that it's coming to Xbox Game Pass PC. You'll see that. You didn't see that last night, and that is different behavior from how Xbox first party games have revealed, and so it's kind of begs the question whether or not this game is going to be an Xbox exclusive. And what's interesting is even Xbox, I forget their what's the Xbox page? It gives you all the information. I forget.
Is that Xbox Wire?
Even Xbox Wire didn't mention that it was exclusive. Bethesda's own PR statement didn't mention that it was exclusive or made no mention of Xbox. We know that Phil Spencer in the past did say that they would treat exclusives on a case-by-case basis. Windows Central did report that it was exclusive, but Windows Central has now backtracked that report, stating that no official comment has been made about the game being exclusive. And so
that's because Windows Central are shitty journalists.
Yeah,
but
that was
please
like
proceed.
Look. We've talked about gaming journalism on the show. This is another example of bad gaming journalism. Like, do your due diligence, Windows Central. Don't put out an article saying it's exclusive without confirming that it's fucking exclusive. And then come back and be like, "Oh, you know what? No, you know what? We updated the article. It's not exclusive. There's no official commentary." Oh my God. This is like, can we have a conversation without bringing Sony into this? This is what frustrates me about the dialogue around gaming. And by the way, big shout out to Greg Miller for calling out that idiot in his show the other day too. So I may channel my inner Greg Miller here shortly, but no, it begs the question, considering that we've seen what we've seen with other Xbox first party titles when they've revealed those titles, that there is the Xbox brand is, and actually Cobriel's the one that brought this to my attention when he tweeted it out. I was so excited to see Blade, and I was actually excited to see Arcane working on it. And I was thinking, oh, this is actually a great get for Xbox. I assumed that it's going to be exclusive to the Xbox as Arcane's working on it. And then I read Cobriel's post, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's interesting. And I started doing a little more research, and no one has confirmed, and neither Microsoft or Bethesda have confirmed that this, in fact, is a console exclusive game for Xbox. And even if it isn't, Logic, even if it isn't, I think from a publishing standpoint, it's still a big get for Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's kind of funny that Blade's a vampire, and I mean, is Arcane becoming the vampire studio now? But I think it's it lines. I think Blade, the character, lines up well with Arcane Studios and their approach to storytelling. The only thing, and again, it was an incredibly brief trailer, and so this is a comment about things I'm going to keep an eye on and things I'm going to kind of look for. I just didn't, in that initial trailer, I didn't, and again, part of the problem is, in my mind, Wesley Snipes is the only Blade and is Blade, and so his characterization of that character. So I didn't absolutely get conveyed over that hard edge and that badassery to that character of Blade. It just seemed I don't know, a little more, a little too calm and subdued, and not in the way like what Wesley Snipes is calm and subdued. When, like you still feel like the boiling badass right behind the sunglasses. So again, incredibly brief trailer. So I'll just be kind of looking at, what is their characterization of Blade, will be the thing that I am kind of most keen to observe. And then, thereafter it'll be kind of what the game mechanics are in terms of combat, because again, I would want a Blade that like is heavily combat oriented and where the combat just feels, wonderful. And I don't know that Arcane Leon is, I don't know that that's a commentary, that's a label that I would apply to Arcane Leon. Like combat is always very kind of cerebral and makes you think. It makes you think multidimensionally.
Very stealth, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely forces you into their games are not ones where you can kind of go in guns blazing, right? You don't really have that option. You're always kind of carefully managing, when to be aggressive, but always have an escape route. But that's also not, in my mind, that's not what the Blade character should be and what I would want out of a game with them. So, it'll just be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hey, Jago6, real quick, man. I know you say that you're here for, you're good, nothing exciting in here, just pure entertainment, fun. Look, that's not this podcast, man. If you want to, go and act like, I don't know, behave like that, there's other podcasts. That's not this show, man. And I saw what you said earlier about, why we don't do this for Sony games. I mean, like, we're talking about Microsoft. We're talking about the Blade announcement and how it's different from other first party announcements.
Well, and he brings up this question on this specific topic, like why do we not ask whether or not a Sony game is going to be exclusive or not? Because that's the line of questioning we had with Blade. I mean, we would never ask, because I think it's a foregone conclusion that Sony title is going to be exclusive. There's not really a conversation to have about that. You've never heard Jim Ryan or Herman Hulser or anybody come out and say, "Oh, well, we're gonna think about that on a case by case basis."
Well, so that's the other thing. Like Phil Spencer's come out and said we're going to think of exclusives on a case by case basis. So I mean, that's why we're questioning this, Jago. Like oh, see, this is, I'm going to channel my inner Greg Miller here. Like fucking pay attention, man. Like pay attention to the conversation. Pay attention to what these executives have said. Like you if you say that you're a true fan of the industry, then fucking follow the industry.
Yeah, and he's made that comment specifically with regard to Bethesda games, because Bethesda games in the past had a history of being multi-platform. And so he said we would take it on a case-by-case basis. That's the point of the conversation we're having here. And then your question, does it matter you're either going to play it or not? Again, this commentary on games that is on this channel is divided into three parts. It is how we personally feel about it as a gamer. It's how we assess the rest of the gaming community is going to feel about it, or the rest of the gaming market. And it's about whether or not it has a negative or positive, our estimate on whether or not it has a negative or positive effect on the business. And so the question of Blade in three parts, are we going to play it or not? Yes. I don't care whether it's exclusive or not. I will play it if it's a good game. I'm also not going to do what a lot of people, I would guess, associated in kind of your sector of the fan base do, which is I'm also not going to play it just because it's on Xbox. It needs to be a good game, period. Is the rest of the market going to play it? Some of the rest of the market does align based on brand, and some of them will play it or won't play. There are PlayStation players, probably in a very small percentage, who aren't going to continue playing COD because it's now owned by Microsoft. And they don't want to be part of feeding that beast. Yeah. But that's their choice.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like if I sound a little riled up, it's because here's the thing. I have 4 kids. Okay? I do this podcast for fun. Because I enjoy and I love video games. I enjoy talking about video games. Like I don't want to come in here and have to like babysit adults. Like I babysit enough. I have 4 kids. I don't want to babysit grown men who should know better.
So Jago6 says Blade is going to be. Yeah, go ahead.
And again, and I have animals too, Capoto. You're right. I have a horse. We own a horse, and I have like 20 chickens and 2 dogs, and 4 rabbits. Yeah. So look, I'm not here to babysit. Like, what the show is, okay? If you don't like it, fucking go somewhere else. Be an adult. pull up your pants, go to another. There's plenty of channels that will massage your back. That
give you a reach around.
That will give you. Yes. Like that's just go there. Don't come here. It's annoying.
Yeah,
like a lot of us we have cultivated a really good following of people that want to have a different level of conversation than the stupid console war stuff that you guys come in here and try to do. You're not welcomed here. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, you come over here trying to pull an amygdala hijack, and it's not going to work.
Yeah, and Froggy T, right? You're still at it, dude. Why? Why are you here? I'm going to make this easy for you. You're gone. Go ahead, Logic.
No, so Jago 6 is, I guess, I mean, that's an opinion to have. I would disagree with you. Your contention that a new Marvel game is always going to get hyped up, and that people are going to play it. Number one, Blade doesn't have the intellectual cachet and as an IP amongst Marvel fans. There are plenty of Marvel fans out there who don't think of Blade right away when they think of the Marvel brand. There are plenty of people who are fans of comic book content but aren't comic book people and don't even know that Blade is a Marvel property. So I don't think that, so it's good in their branding that they went with Marvel's Blade. I think that's very important. But I don't think you're going to get a lot of people who are going to play Blade just because it's a Marvel IP on a console. And Blade is not Hogwarts. Right, you're not going to get tons of people playing it just because they're that invested in the IP, and he's not even as big as other Marvel IP like Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and that's not to say it's not going to be a good game. It could be a good game. We're not saying that, but I don't disagree with your point about the appeal of the character, broad appeal of the character.
That's a good point. Why we had Marvel's Avengers and like shit tons of people didn't play that because it wasn't a great game.
Yeah. Marvel's Avengers. The opening of Marvel's Avengers was actually pretty good, but after that, it just fell off a cliff. Like I enjoyed. Yeah.
And now Sconey brings up a good point, right? Blade has D-list visions as well, right? One of the key things that we say with these properties, both in their movie format, television show format, video game format, right? A hero is really made by how good their villains are, and Blade doesn't have any super recognizable villains.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Sconey. Yeah, no, I agree.
But what I will say is what we have seen in the last few years is we've seen a positive knock-on effect from good games releasing alongside or even within a year's time frame of good screen work, right? And so with I can't remember exactly how to pronounce his name, but with Mashali's rendition of Blade, and I'm not sure where that's on track now to come out in phase 4 or whatever the heck it is the MCU is doing.
Was that delayed?
I'm sure it was delayed because of the strike and the pandemic and all that.
But I thought there were some issues with the production of the movie too. I'd have to go back and pull that, but I thought that's what
Yeah, I'll check that out. But if that thing comes out in any kind of way that allows their marketing windows to overlay even within 12 to 18 months, I'd say that's the potential for another positive knock-on effect both for the game and for the movie.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to say this again. If you're hate watching, just don't come here. Like YouTube's made it very easy to block people for long periods of time now, long overdue. So you've been warned. All right. Again, Logic, whether it's first party, third party, I still think it's a big, even if it's third party, I think it's still, like I said earlier, it's still a big get for Microsoft Publishing. There is a developer out there, a former developer at Ben Studios and Ember Lab actually tweeted this out. Again, this hasn't been corroborated anywhere else. But he was saying that Blade is not an Xbox exclusive, and that it's a requirement for Marvel for the game not to be exclusive, and that in fact, that both Arcane's Blade and EA's Black Panther and Iron Man are part of the same wave of Marvel Disney contracts for their IP games, for the intellectual property games starting in 2022. He's saying that this is the information he got from EA. All Marvel games licensed from 2022 will have to be cross-platform. And then he says, many will wonder about Wolverine Well, this game was licensed for PlayStation and Insomniac before 2022.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it tracks and dovetails with what I know of Kevin Feige and Disney's approach to their IP.
Yeah. So, all right, Logic. Anything else? Any other comments on Blade?
No, yeah, I mean, I always, I loved Prey. Always, looking forward to see what Arcane is cooking up.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I know there's people that are saying, "Oh, it's Arcane. They made Redfall." Look, Redfall was the one shitburger Arcane put out. It was their B team. Not that I'm excusing Redfall, but I'm not. Ryan Landis wants to know about the art style. It's I have to see more. I think what they showed in that small vertical slice was cool. But I don't know. Like I think I posed that question to you earlier today, Logic. Like, how do you feel about an Arcane Blade game using the arcade template, if you will, if you played like Dishonored or I don't.
Deathloop. To me, I don't really care about the graphical presentation style. That's something that I'm very flexible about. I'm definitely, in the camp of, I'm fine with with the creative vision of the dev team and them making those choices and their decisions. To me, it's whether or not it plays well. Like I said, the big thing to me that I question is, again, Blade. What sticks in my mind is that that opening sequence in the first Blade movie where he just goes into that underground nightclub and just totally wrecks it. And I'm like, that is the kind of Blade that I need, and I don't know that that's the Arcane approach to combat.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I'm thinking I want to see a visceral type of Blade, kind of like with Wolverine. And I thought about with that scene that you're talking about when he walks in, he just goes. It's.
The vampires are in fear. God, man, and he just.
I gotta go watch that
so smooth, man.
I gotta go watch that movie again.
I think I'm gonna binge watch the Blade trilogy this weekend.
Yeah, because you're right. He walks in and they're all scared, and he just wrecks shop. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they can capture. And maybe they don't. But yeah, I'm actually excited to see what Arcane's going to do with this IP, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, and Ryan Landis, you are right. This game is set in France. The creative lead or whatever, the creative developer, not the director, mentioned that it is a game that takes place in Paris, which is his hometown. And I guess
Sam sees Blade is their boogeyman. He really is. Blade is their boogeyman.
Yeah. That's what the guy referred to him, right? The head of the vampire clan or whatever, in one of those scenes where they were in the boardroom meeting or whatever.
Yeah, he referred to him as a boogeyman. Yeah. God, what a great movie, man. I mean, that movie actually saved Marvel, from what I understand. Because Marvel.
Oh, did it really?
They were going through the financial issues at that point when that movie released. I'd have to go back and pull it up, but I believe that's the case. Because Marvel financially was not doing well at that time.
Yeah. Capote, what I'm seeing is supposedly the movie is now planned for 2025, but I don't know if that's fully corroborated or just like a planning date.
Yeah.
Planning window.
Yeah, I'm still excited for the new Blade movie. I can't wait. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the trilogy this weekend now. Yeah. Again, great announcement by Microsoft, Xbox. And like I said earlier, whether or not it's first party, third party, from just a publishing perspective, it's still a big get for them.
So yeah, I mean, what I put in the chat was like, it's awesome to see that Disney is willing to dole those IPs out right to multiple publishers and not just PlayStation.
Not just PlayStation, yeah. EA, Sony, and now Microsoft. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point.
Yeah, let's also comment. It looks like Marvel is going to lose their tang, so Phase 4 might become entirely unraveled, and so maybe Disney needs to pour more money into Marvel video games.
Yeah. All right, Logic. I need to head over to Crossfire now. I will be on Crossfire on Mooch's channel here, which they're about to go live here in about 2 minutes. So Head over to Mooch's channel. I'll be there. I'll be on Crossfire there. Oh, geez, I forget who he has on as guest tonight, but anyhow, I'll be there if you want to come out and hang out with us. Logic, always a pleasure. I appreciate the time as always. If you want to be found, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can catch up with me over on the E2KG Network podcasting channel. That's E and the number 2. Normally we go live on Sunday nights at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, this weekend, because of schedules, we've had to move up and accelerate our annual Gaming Superlative show. I think this is our 8th or 9th. And so this is where we don't do Game of the Year, but we do kind of, if you think about like your high school superlatives, like class clown, most likely to succeed, most likely to be caught robbing a train or whatever have you. So we have 14 categories like that for games where each of the it'll be 5 co-hosts this year because we'll have the entire team back together going through all 14 categories over 2 nights. So we'll start tomorrow night at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and then conclude Sunday night at 8:45 p.m. Going through all 14 of those categories and all 5 host picks.
Nice. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that show as well. K-Med and David Falke will be on Crossfire, by the way. I just checked. So should be a great show. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. Really appreciate those that come in here and behave as adults should. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy playing video games because that's what it's all about. We'll catch you next time.